All right, what's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. Link will be in the description box below. This video is entitled Looking for Unrealistic Validation. This is for people who self-sabotage themselves, who were in a good situation, but they want to see if they could, make it in a worse situation. For people who watch Power, Tyreek. He comes from a nice family, but he want to see if he could be a gangster like people who came up in a gangster's environment, right? I've learned this, living in the suburbs for a while. There are people who want to know in general that they can make it in any time, in any era. And one thing parents can tell you who come from a harder background or a different time is, for one, it's a different time. And the things that went on in the past are not going on in the present. So you got kids who weren't really exposed to the lifestyle of the past. So they unnecessarily make the present harder on them than it has to be, to prove to themselves that they can make it out of a tough situation. And this is why I say they're losing, looking for validation, for unrealistic validation, because they're trying to validate themselves by saying, see, I could get past adversity just like anybody else. And here's the thing. People who have adversity don't create their own adversity. They may be born into a situation where adversity comes with the territory, but they're not going outside of their way to F their lives up, to create an adversity, to overcome an adversity that they created, to say, you see, I can make it under any circumstance. No, you can't make it under any circumstance, because still, who's really in your way is you. See, if you came from a privilege, or if your parents came up lower class and you came up middle class, and you economically kill, ruin, waste your parents' middle class money to make yourself poor or lower class, to say that I could go down to lower class and shoot back up to middle and then, upper class, you're an idiot. Because you're supposed to build on what they gave you. Not try to say, see, if I was in your situation, I'd have done better. Because the flip side is this. If your parents or your family was in your situation, they would be way further along than they are right now, and even though they're in a position to help you. People do stuff that self-sabotage. I see this with people in relationships. You do everything you can to sabotage the relationship, and then when you burned it all down, now you want to get back together and say we can make it work. No. I'm going to prove to you that we can make it work after I destroyed all of this good stuff that was already here. The issue with that is, you don't break a good thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But since it ain't broke, you're going to break it and then try to fix it bigger and better than it was before, and you don't have the skill set for that. Because you don't know what it's like to have something broken before, you don't know what it's like to fix something that's already broken, and you're accustomed to it being broken. You're accustomed to something functional, and you made it dysfunctional to show people you can make it out of dysfunction, not understanding that that's a dysfunctional behavior. And some of these people become parents. And what's weird is sometimes this sabotages on purpose, because when they become parents, it's an unwritten rule that your kids, you should, if you have an issue with what your parents did for you, you should put yourself in a position to do better for your kids than your parents did for you. And some of these people don't want the responsibility of being a better parent than their parents. So they purposely sabotage their lives, and they wind up at square one when they never started at square one. So, and you're looking to validate yourself like, see, they came up hard. We could come up hard and I could raise my children, coming up hard and they're going to come out great. You're an idiot. Because one of the major fallacies about that is, if you're not born into this situation, you might not be, 9 times out of 10, you ain't built for it. And I see people who are suburban, who can go home and live a suburban life, but they want to be built for a lower class life. But see, you're a visitor. Some people, when people are slumming in the hood, you slumming, but you're not staying. You're on vacation in the hood. You don't live there. There are people who were raised in excellence, and they've been slumming their lives in mediocrity, but they don't live there. And they become more accustomed to mediocrity because they don't like the responsibility of being expected to be excellent. They don't like the pressure of carrying the torch and raising the bar. So they're looking for this unrealistic validation, really to run from taking it to the next level. And people don't want to talk about that. And I see it far too often. This is where a parent comes from nothing, makes something out of themselves, whether they have a business, have a career, or just maybe have a high-paying job. But their knowledge can put their child on the fast track. But their child is so accustomed to a higher standard of living that they don't want to work as hard as their parents did to get out of poverty. They don't want to work as hard as their parents worked to maintain their economic status. Because deep down, in some ways, their parents crippled them by taking care of them so well. They don't want to go out and compete in society. And this is why I use the example. Some people feel like they can survive in any era. If I was back then, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take that. I wouldn't live like that. But you have people right now who live in this cycle where, if I had to come up poor, it'll be different for me, and they make themselves poor, and they can't get out. And they need people to come save them. Nobody's coming to save you. Poverty doesn't have a support system. The support system of middle class and upper class people and networks and support and families. It doesn't have the same thing. So you really on your own. It's really do or die. And for you to, and I've seen people try to, put themselves in a situation where it's do or die. And the problem is, in the back of their mind, they really don't have a do or die mentality, because in the back of their mind, they can always phone home. They don't know what it's like to not have a safety net, to not have a support system. And people don't, think about that. You see people, even come from poverty. I'm gonna deal drugs and I'm gonna be a millionaire. No, you're not. See, women, I'm gonna have 13 kids, but I'm gonna be a great parent, and we're gonna take care of everybody. No, you're not. It's not gonna happen that way. What's gonna happen is this: you're gonna fail miserably. You know, because my grandparents had 10 kids. Your grandparents had 10 kids when, you know, it was probably more affordable to have 10 kids, even though they were in poverty. You can't. The cost of living is completely different. Don't try to live back in that era. You want to be a drug dealer nowadays? This ain't the 60s and the 70s, and a little bit of the 80s. You know, you can't get away with the shit you got away with then, and make the amount of money that you got made then. So you go ahead and live that life to try to validate yourself. If you want to, you're gonna lose horribly. And then what? You want somebody else to come pick up the pieces? And that's why I'm going to end this video when I say this. Because you want to validate yourself living up to this unrealistic standard, you got to pick up the pieces. Because this is a situation you created. And first of all, you wasn't built to fix the situation you created because you didn't come up like that. And second, you know, you probably were so entitled and spoiled, you really can't get past your own entitlement issues to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because you started with nice shoes. You didn't even know what boots was. So we out of here, man. Peace.